You're listening to Real Folk with me, Jo Burke. And with me today, I have got the hilariously funny and actually quite apt for today, we'll find out in a second why, Josephine Lacey, comedian extraordinaire. Her debut solo show, hour-long comedy show, recently gained 4 stars from The Guardian, and it was called Autism Mama. We'll talk about that later. Welcome to Real Folk, Josephine Lacey.
Hey, how you doing, Jo? Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. And it's been a long time, hasn't it? Long time no see.
Yeah, it has. Or no talk. Like I see you pop up on the Instas, but I don't do that as well as I should. We go back a little while, didn't we, our comedy paths?
And Josephine and a guy called Mark Geary were running a night. Was it Comedy Slappers or something it was called?
Yeah. Comedy Slappers.
That's about 20 years ago, wasn't it?
Not as long as that, because I haven't been in the game that long. It's 16 and a half years. So I'd say about 15 years ago.
Wow. Time flies. Time absolutely flies.
Yeah.
And since then, Josephine has done... Are you always Josephine or Jo?
I'm Josephine. Now I'm a mature woman. When I was younger, it was Josie, but I'm a mature woman now, so I like Josephine.
Well, it's a lovely name. I wish, because I'm a Jo as well, but I've got the boring end of Jo. My full name is Joanne, which is the dullest version of Jo you can have. Josephine's much nicer, isn't it?
Oh, it's actually my middle name. Josephine's my middle name.
Oh,
yeah.
Are you going to share what?
Yeah, I'm not running from immigration or anything, or the tax man. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, my Christian name is Neve.
Oh, is that spelled the weird Irish way? The Niamh?
It's spelled the Irish way, not the weird Irish way. It's spelled the proper
Irish
way.
Now, I feel like I can say the weird Irish way and that was what I said at the top, that it's quite apt that you're on today because it is St. Patrick's Day, and both Josephine and me I basically have Irish roots. And obviously, Jo, you've got Jamaican Irish is yours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite the mixture.
Yeah, Dad's Jamaican, my mum's Irish.
So growing up, you grew up in London, did you, or were you somewhere else?
Yeah, I grew up in London and I was a 60s baby. Yeah, it wasn't the smoothest of childhoods. And
so what happened with your comedy journey? Were you a fun, piss-taking kind of kid? Is it with the teachers or anything as a kid, or is it all completely out of the blue and much later in life? What's your comedy journey?
Much later in life, because funnily, when I done my first stand-up routine, I was preparing for it. That was in, where are we now, 25? That was 2008. There was many reasons why I'd done it, but one of them was confidence, because a part of my joke was, oh, forgive me if I'm nervous. The only time I've ever performed in front of anyone is in front of a judge and a jury. Like, I weren't part of school plays. I think I played Mary once in the Nativity, but they took away all her speaking words. Like, I didn't speak. I could mimic knocking on the cabin on the shack door, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
that's hilarious. So you got the main part, the coveted part of Mary, and then they go, "Oh, do you know what? This is a silent version of Mary now." Yeah. So Joseph.
I think I was the only olive-skinned child in the school, and that's why I got the part.
Oh, right.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, I think that's why I probably got the part.
But then they wouldn't let you talk, so that's great.
No, yeah, I weren't allowed to talk.
But at least you got those parts. I was things like a shadow or a star. Talking about confidence, so did you lack confidence then?
Yeah, I think I lacked confidence. I found out later in life also that I'm dyslexic. I found that out when I was doing a course in my 50s. I didn't like authority much, so I wasn't really I weren't like a pupil teacher liked in their classroom. Academically, I did all right. I came out with like CSEs. They weren't even GCSEs then. But no, I didn't have a happy time in school. I didn't have a happy childhood. So it weren't happy. I didn't know until as well when you're later, you look back, and I was quite angry. You know, there was things that were happening and you don't understand why. And yeah, you lick out, and yes, I just weren't happy. Yeah.
So you were difficult because it was difficult for you, basically. So because you
Yeah.
were dyslexic, because you weren't happy at home, and I think
Yeah.
that's the weird thing, isn't it? I think when people see kids that are acting up at school or wherever it is in life, and the question shouldn't be, pack it in, your rubbish,
Yeah.
a nuisance or whatever. It should be what's up, really. I think
Yeah.
probably someone just needed. Did someone ask you what was up, or you just discovered it later
I
in life
think
when you were doing?
there was one teacher I had in secondary school. I'm sure her name was Miss Renfrew. She was an English teacher, and she got pregnant anyway. How dare she? And she went back. She went to live in Scotland with her partner and raised her family. I can't remember her specifically asking me, but I got the sense she knew something was up, and she always gave me a lot of time. Like I remember getting a couple of pep talks from her. And it's really weird. In the last few years, she's crossed my mind a few times. I just thought, oh, I wonder if she'd remember me, or like,
I bet she would.
because I remember her. I remember her, yeah.
So what was it like then? If you were, like you've said, you really were. It wasn't a great childhood. You weren't happy. So what made you turn that corner, so to speak?
I didn't turn a corner for a while. Um, I got pregnant with my first child at 19, but the relationship was extremely abusive. But she gave me the strength to leave that relationship. Entered into another relationship a few years later. I hadn't really learnt much in the way of keeping myself safe or the pattern of abuse. That was an abusive relationship. I left that one soon after I had a child in that relationship. My children gave me the strength to leave these relationships. And I did receive some counselling after the second relationship. So I'd say about 97, 96, 97. I got a few weeks of counselling. And I thought, oh, that's it. I'm fixed now. But I wasn't. But I was a mother by then. So things had to be done, bills had to be paid. I just cracked on until 2014. On my way home from a gig, I was hurt quite badly in a violent sexual assault. I was on my road, and then that triggered all my childhood abuse and stuff, and I got very ill then. And then I got a lot of eventually ended up getting a lot of intense therapy after self-medicating nearly hurt me quite badly a couple of times.
It's interesting, just going back to what you were saying about that your children gave you the strength to leave each of those abusive relationships. Do you think even now that it's strange as a woman that it's you didn't do that for yourself originally, but as soon as you had the responsibility of the children, I assume, and I may be wrong, but that it was the fact that you didn't want that relationship in their lives was why you moved on and got out of those relationships.
I think might have stayed longer if I had not have had children. When you're conditioned, I can speak for myself, obviously speaking for myself, and of course, being in therapy groups, I've heard what others have said. I think when you suffer a form or forms of abuse, especially from a young age, I became very good at dealing with that conditioning. I became conditioned to abuse from a younger age. So by the time I was in relationships, I was a pro. I was an expert at managing what was happening to me. Also, you will decompartmentalize stuff. So when stuff is happening, I would be able to go somewhere else. When the abuse was finished, I was able to process it really quickly so I could move on and be a parent. It's really weird because if you're being abused in your own home, not only is it a place of abuse, but it's also the place you have to recover and repair if you've got nowhere else to go. I may not have left as quickly without them having others to protect. I also knew from quite young that that kind of abuse isn't out of love. I wasn't someone who stayed because I thought, oh, they're doing this because they love me, and I did not love them. But it was just a case of, where do I go with these two young children?
Did you get help?
My doctor was really helpful. It was weird when I left the second one. It was just like, go down to the council, and I told them, and my doctor confirmed I had started to with the second one. The one difference that I did do is I had started to report the abuse when it was happening. So I had documented evidence.
Right.
And I had injuries were noted. What other abuse had happened to me was noted. I didn't do every encounter, and I always knew I would leave. I thought, if I survive, I will leave. I'm not staying in this. But it was just, and then like did that whole kind of shitty cockroached bed and breakfasts for a bit.
Wow.
And then I had a really wonderful housing officer. And I think it's worth mentioning he was male. He put me in an accommodation I shouldn't have been in, but it was self-contained. Me and the children were safe. We didn't have to share a kitchen or a bathroom. Yeah, that's how I got on my merry way to living safely.
So there are some good people about then in the services that help.
I think there's a lot of people in services that help. Unfortunately, those people get failed by the service, by targets, by finances, by burnout, by not paying them what they're due. A lot of people I know grew up with something that's left a mark on them, some form of abuse. And so a lot of my friends went into the care sector, social workers, teachers, nurses. A lot of them have said the same thing. It's jobs that they love doing, but they don't get the support that they need. That interferes with the services that we receive as service users.
And in each of the cases with the partners, you say, and I've obviously heard this before, for them to get any sort of reprimand legally, you as the victim have to report them each time that it seems so illogical that you, instead of them arresting your partners, that you've got to keep going there going, look what's happened to me now, I'm hurt again, time and time again. Did anything ever happen to either of those? Or
Not for any abuse that they've done to me. Out of the 3 relationships I've had, and the 2 were abusive, the first 2. The first one, my daughter's father, I couldn't even tell you if he's alive now. And if he is, I don't know what kind of life he's led. My son's partner passed away. But again, for a part of my healing was leaving whatever life is for them. I knew they weren't good people, and I was going to be determined that what they had done was not going to ruin what life I have left, or I wasn't going to live as a victim for the rest of my life. I have been a victim. I have been victimized. but I'm not a victim now. I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious. I am spiritual. And I thought if there is any reprimand, my reprimand would rather be what God had planned for them. They took advantage of me because I was conditioned to that. They sniff
already.
you out, they feel you out. So how far back? And it's been offered. I was offered the one once I was offered that I could go and do the historical abuse and have them brought up on historical charges of sexual, violent, kidnap. I could have that done. I chose not to. For that reason, all the footwork has to be done by me. I have to, and I've been treated for clinical depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. I wouldn't even wish it on one of my abusers. So I thought about it, and I think that, again, I was able to just say, do you know what? Just leave it in God's hands.
But it's incredible that you've moved on so significantly, and I mean, I'm sure it's something that you probably continue to work on. I can't imagine there's like a therapy session or any number of therapy sessions that can sort of ever reconcile everything. It's just, I suppose, getting through to a stage where it doesn't impact you on a daily basis, and you can sort of make a future that's as far away from the past as possible.
I now rule those thoughts, they don't rule me. When you're suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, you have no control on. When I felt like what had happened, what was coming to pass was, when you live in an abusive cycle and you do what you have to do to block stuff out, in that moment, you believe you are blocking stuff out. What happens with the post-traumatic stress disorder is all those feelings, all those smells, all that fear, all that trauma is there in your bones and your muscles and your memories, your blood vessels, your heartbeat, and they come back. And I think it's even worse than going through it the first time, just standing up, doing your washing, and all of a sudden feel like you're being choked from behind, and you can feel it, and you feel the fear of what you blocked out when it was really happening. That's there. It's not like watching a crime drama and you're thinking, oh, I wonder if that was done to me, this is what I would do. Or no, it's that does not happen. And that's shocking. I mean, it nearly killed me twice. So it was just so hard to be awake. It was just so hard to be in waking moments, because it was just fully consumed of all these doors that were opening in not a chronological order. So something from my childhood, then something from an adult relationship, something from an adult relationship, then again something from my childhood. It was just all the doors just opened up at once. And I mean, that was on top of trying to maintain a family life for my children, working, going out to work. And then later, like 2006, 2009, my youngest got his diagnosis of autism, and he was non-verbal. It was full on meltdowns. And that was all on top of that. And my superwoman cape just got lost in the wind, and I couldn't do it anymore. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, who could cope with all of that? It's
You'll
unbearable.
be amazed how many women and men
Yeah.
there are, and it could be your neighbour, it could be your best mate, who you might get a feeling or something's up, but you might not ever know how badly it is.
So
I met,
did you not, interestingly then, did you not speak to close friends and family? Did your family think, your extended family or your friends or work colleagues, did they not have an inkling of what was going on at all?
I had friends who knew. I mean, I had one friend visit me one day and she said, "Why do you have that boot print on your forehead?"
Oh my God.
Yeah, I remember that. She'll remember that. I think if I remember, I just shrugged my shoulders. I mean, I didn't trip and land on a boot.
No.
So, and she knew, and he had a reputation. He was big, I think things were being, I found out a lot about him after I left him. I might not have left him even if I'd known about those things at the time. I was crippled in that relationship. But after I left him, I learned a lot about him. And, a few friends said like they knew he had hurt other women, but they didn't know like what to say to me and stuff. And I just let them know, like, even if you had said something, I really don't know if it would made a difference then.
And so you said earlier as well that that it nearly killed you twice, and I presume you mean by that you mentioned self-medication. Was that
Yeah.
drugs or drink or both or
I was never a drinker, and my previous job I supported entrenched rough sleepers, and I managed supported housing. So I had wet houses, I had dry houses, I had houses where people were still using. So I knew the effects of alcohol. My dad was always a drinker. My mum used to drink. So I knew the effects of alcohol. And even when I did have them times when I drank, alcohol made me chilled. Like it didn't make me get up. I didn't get hyperactive. I didn't get loud or leery. I just like to sit down at the table if there's food and we just have a cackle, or if we're indoors, living room and it's girly night, we'd get through a few bottles, but it would make me chill. So I would just drink till I slept, and being where I lived at the time, there was 24-hour off licenses, and I was hiding it from those that were supporting my autistic son as well. He was going to a specialised school. So I would be able to get him on the transport bus in the morning, and as soon as he was on that bus, I would start drinking. And if I didn't have alcohol in the house, as soon as he was on the bus, I'd wait till I couldn't see the bus, and then I'd go to the shop
Mm.
and get those 3 bottles of wine for £10 deals or something. I wasn't eating. I was only sleeping when the alcohol sent me to sleep. And then I'd make sure I'd bathe him and feed him, bearing in mind I wasn't bathing myself or feeding myself either. And then I would start drinking, and his big brother often watched over him while I was in a drunkard stupor, not being able to deal with the minute by minute day. I used to honestly wake up at 2 in the morning and think, I am not going to make it to 2:05.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there just aren't any words, are there really? But when you are so low, so beaten, in every sense of that, what on earth can ever make you stop? And suddenly get all your life back together again, and suddenly because it's very difficult for most people, I'm sure, to equate what we've just discussed with how I started the show, which is, you've written an amazing debut hour. It was on at the Soho Theatre. You've had rave reviews from everyone, including The Guardian. And I think I'm not mistaken in that you're still touring it this year in various places, which and I'll put links to that later on in the description of this show. But, you know, it seems almost inhumanly impossible to make the leap from what you've just described to where you actually are now. It seems like a fairy tale, doesn't it? It doesn't even seem like it could be one person's life.
No, it doesn't. What saved me, and I've had to have this conversation with my middle boy. I haven't had it with my eldest. But what saved me was my autistic son. I The second time I was in hospital, I did not think I was going to leave. And something weird happened. I had got to a place I was not frightened of death. And I was slowly killing myself. I was not frightened to go. But when I was brought into hospital, January, February, March, April 2015, I was in a bad way. And I did not think I was coming out. And while I was lying in the hospital bed, I all of a sudden became really frightened to die. And I just thought I just can't leave that boy yet. If everything else I've done to protect myself has been off the back foot of needing to be there for someone else, leaving relationships for my children. And I thought, I can't leave this world and leave this non-verbal creature who's going to find it so difficult. I remember when he was first diagnosed, and I knew there was something extra special about him. I knew it. There was just not a name to it. I'd only heard the word autism. None of my friends I knew had autistic children. And when he was diagnosed, I remember someone saying to me, God gives special children to special people, and you are meant to be his mother. That feeling was so overwhelming. I mean, it didn't cure me, but it stopped me lifting up another drink. And then because I was a carer, and the school had kicked in a bit, I hadn't told the school about my self-medication, but I had told them that I was finding it difficult to do things with him. I'd become frightened of coming out of the house. So I wasn't doing activities with him as I should be and stuff like that. So they instigated him getting a care plan. It was when the family was introduced to a social worker. Hadn't used one ever before. Hadn't spoke to one. I was one of those people. I'm not speaking to one of those people. They're just going to be nosy and they're going to do this. No, they were a great help. I got help from a lovely lady. I wish I could remember her name. She came to the home because since that assault, I had not been working. So I wasn't earning anything. And in that time also, my son's child's disability came to an end and I didn't renew it. And even though I used it for him, like it weren't coming in to even like keep us propped up. So I had no money coming in and I was coming to the near of maxing out the credit card. And I was just like, we're going to be homeless. And this lady came in, a family liaison woman, and she got all the renewal forms. She filled out his disability form again. She got me a loan, interest-free loan with an organisation to help me pay off the credit card bill. I had to go on benefits for a while because I couldn't go back to work. And that being stand up. And it slowly just kind of kicked in and I started to get the right counselling.
Yeah.
Because I was given counselling, but it wasn't the counselling that I needed.
Right,
and
I'm
it
just
didn't
going to have
help.
to. Sorry, I'm so sorry to stop you in full thing. Can you believe
Yeah.
40 minutes has gone already? I'll shut this down. And if you just give me 5 minutes, have a break, get a cup of tea or something, and then
I'll make a cup of tea and
yeah,
hit that link
and come
again.
back on
Yeah.
again in about five. Yeah, okay.
All right, darling. Hey, sorry, I realised I need to go loo as well.
Yeah, no, so did I. So it was fine. You get to a certain age, you can only go so long, can't you?
Yeah, yeah, right, yeah,
It's ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, it's right. Yeah, let's make it. Yeah, 'cause I was thinking, shit, that was heavy for 10 o'clock in the morning, weren't it? Right, right. But you can't help where the conversation goes. But the whole bladder thing, I remember. So I was in an accident in August 2003, and I got 8 fractured ribs.
Oh,
I was in hospital for a week. I had a line going in my back, right from the top of my neck down into my rib cage, releasing epidural. So they said, like, numb the area so it wouldn't hurt when I was breathing. They didn't want me getting a chest infection or pneumonia. And I had morphine in my right arm, along with another line giving me another pain relief. So they said, we may have to attach a catheter. And I was like, yeah, no, you're not. And it was like, you don't really have much choice. You can't jump in and out of the bed. And like they had laid the mattress with those waterproof pads underneath you and all of that. And I was like, you're not putting, I'm already strapped up to two things. I'm not having nothing on my mini mood. Like, that's not, you're not doing, I'm not having that. And I was already feeling sorry for myself and for the situation. And they said, well, you'll have to wear a nappy. And I was like, well, I'm 55. I'm 5 months old. Like, what am I doing with a nappy? I'm not ready for a nappy. And I'm in a proper nappy. This ain't like 10 and 80 pull-ups or like what they try and fob on as discreet knickers. I hate that. And all discreet knickers. There's nothing discreet about them. There's a pool of piss between your legs. There's nothing discreet about them, right? So anyway, my point, they put me in these nappies. Jesus, Joe, this is the most holistic thing I've ever put on, right? If you can piss yourself in your bed and not give a shit, that's the zen of all zens, right? It's cheaper than Reiki, right? You have to go and get a nappy and
and just
just
lay in it.
piss yourself watching your favourite movie and tell me that you're not happy in your
Not
bed.
Oh, Josephine, you're hilarious. That's hilarious. How, I mean, seriously, how we have gone from, really moving story, really upsetting. And then we come back after we've but to stop ourselves wetting ourselves, we had to go away. And yeah, and then now we've just discovered via the medium of Josephine Lacey that Zen is sitting in a bed, wearing a nappy, pissing and shitting yourself to Netflix.
Oh no, I'm all right with the number twos. I can hold on to
Oh, you can
them.
actually, not
Hold on
shitting,
to
no
them.
shits.
Not yet. Not yet. That's a different level of
That is a
Zen.
different level, right? Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
different level of
I'm
Zen,
with you.
mate.
So
Yeah.
just going back to where we finished off before the Zoom ran out and we had to run out ourselves to go to the toilet. Um, you basically, just to cover what we covered this morning, which is, I'm sure many people won't know that about you, and I'm sure many people don't think that. I mean, a lot is said about comedians. Oh, they're often depressed people, aren't they? Or they're often this. People make these wild assumptions about why you got into comedy and why you're a comedian. But I'm not sure that there's many comedians with your background on the circuit doing 4-star shows and touring at the moment. So you are truly unique, and your story is, I mean, everyone's story is unique to them, but I mean, the way you've dealt with quite frankly, and not metaphorically, the blows that life's dealt you early on is incredible, and you should be, and I'm sure you are, super proud of yourself and what you've managed to overcome and achieve.
I do feel lucky. I think I know my time's is not done. My boy is still going to need me. And I think that the voice in my show and why I'm so in love with the show is because it's not my eloquently filthy club voice. Like, I realised that I can use my voice for comedy differently. And of course, stand up isn't my only source of income when it comes to comedy, as you do comedy related work. And I do a lot with the comedy school. And, we do work with vulnerable groups where we use comedy. They do a 5 minutes. And I've worked with veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, which meant a lot because although I'm not a veteran, a war veteran, post-traumatic stress is post-traumatic stress. So it felt good to give back there. And then working with groups of vulnerable women, for whatever reason they're vulnerable. And through hearing their stories, I knew like I had something in common with that as well. So it was really good watching their confidence and them perform, and you just feel like you're giving back. Like, it's not about me or anything. It's just how you've helped support these beautiful souls in doing something that's going to be good for them.
Yeah. And it makes your journey worthwhile then, because without you having that journey, you wouldn't understand them to the intense level that only you can.
Yeah,
Which obviously is part of you doing that with them, because I mean, not any comedian could go in and have the same authentic story that you've got, where you literally can understand or have an empathy that most people can't grasp, because
mm,
fortunately we've not been through that, to go through all of that and come out the other side, and then come out the other side with such aplomb that you've gone back in and are helping others to come out the other side of it.
yeah.
And also, it sounds to me what you're saying is that this show now that you're doing, rather than your club sets, is the most authentic that you've been on stage as well.
Yeah, it's the most, yeah, I think it is. I mean, all my comedy is based on the truth. I am a storyteller, but the show is a lot less embellished with extensions of comedy. It's funny because it's funny in its own right.
Right.
Club, as you go in and bang, 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 you're on for 10, 15, 20 minutes. And so it's a move on quick, hit them with that, which I enjoy, of course. Um, but it was really lovely to pro- produce this piece of work. Yeah.
And did you have help with the production side of it?
As I was doing it as a work in progress, and if it's the same day, because I still don't know which one she came, it's only because she said there was very minimum people there. And now one day the club rang me and said, "Oh, we've had a dropout. Like, do you want to do this Sunday as a work in progress? We got an hour." And I was like, "Yeah." Said yeah straight away, not realising it was Easter Sunday. And it was a glorious day as well. Weather was banging, and 6 people turned up. And I said to him, I said, "Look, I really didn't realise this was Easter Sunday. And if you like, and the weather's beautiful. If you want, like, I'll give you back your pennies, and like you can." And they were like, "No, we've come to see you." They all sat in the front row or the first 2 rows. And I did the show, and it was brilliant. A few weeks later, I just got an email saying I was in your show. There was minimum people, and it was from Soho Theatre, and it was a comedy scout. And yeah, we just asked me to come in. We spoke, and the relationship developed from there. And they put the show on for a night, and then I got 2 nights later in the year, and then they said, "Yeah, we'd like to bring you to Edinburgh." And I
Yay.
was just like over the moon. even though I didn't know how it was going to work because of my son. Yeah, I just thought that's the only way I could have brought the show up, and get it the attention that it deserved. And because they looked after me and looked after the show, all I had to do was be
Turn up.
fabulous every night and do the show.
Nice.
And I did. And I left there just as happy as when I arrived after a full month, which I don't think many comedians can say.
I think very few, but yes.
I know, bless them. I know I had it easier than a lot of them because they had more to worry about.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, you totally deserved an easy slide up there and back, and a good response. I mean, I think you've more than earned it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I think things happen when they're supposed to happen. I wouldn't have been able to leave him for a month any other time, any other year before that. Um, so things all worked out for a reason.
Nice. And let's just talk about your son. What's your son's name?
Callum,
Callum. And I think, isn't he a bit of a piano virtuoso?
he's a savant for his musicality. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah,
amazing.
he has absolute pitch. The way he communicates with music and how it communicates with him, um, I still don't really understand because I just don't. But apparently, only 20% of musicians worldwide share his ability with sound.
Wow. And so, how
Yeah.
did you find that out? I mean, did he have the old what do they call the little baby pianos, and you're like, hang on.
He didn't actually. He didn't have the baby piano. Piano he started in the school, um, and it was soon noted. His hearing, we knew he had spot on hearing. We didn't know he was pitch perfect because you can't whisper. You can't whisper under the same roof as him, like in a separate room. He'll hear you.
Wow.
Um, so we knew, and being that he was non-verbal for the first 5 years of his life, he did use other things to try and communicate with him, and often meltdowns got him heard, of course, or he was trying to express. The other one was fecal smearing, which I will never get used to. Maybe that's why I feel so uncomfortable shitting myself in my own nappy. Know what I mean? I'm done cleaning poo. I'm done. I'm done. I hate wiping my own ass. Um,
Well, you carry on with your trajectory. You might get someone to do that for you soon.
I've always said it's the one thing I'll treat myself when I got money in the bank. Have someone follow me with a packet of toilet wipes.
Well, I mean, they did. The kings, the early kings of yore, they all had people that wiped their asses, didn't they?
Forgot about that. Forgot about that. I could put it. I could do an OnlyFans page and
Oh
everything.
my
Could
God, you would earn a fortune.
rake it in as well. Oh my gosh. Oh, the things that they do on socials now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so what is Callum going to? How old is he now? Is he going to study more, or he doesn't need to
18,
study, does he?
yeah. This is all a bit difficult. This is like it's gonna be a busy year. So he turned 18 last year, and but because he can still school in the school that he's in till he's 19, his care plan hasn't really changed. Regarding school, it's been deemed he needs a bespoke package because although he is also the only child ever in the school since his existence to do a GCSE, he done his GCSE maths and he got a B.
Wow.
Um, and he done his music, he done his grade 5 practical, grade 6 theory, and passed them with distinctions. So I'm very proud of him for that.
That's incredible. Going back to your show, so when is it on next? What are your dates? Where are you going?
I've got summer dates. Winter dates are probably going to be added, and um, it starts in May 23rd. I'll be in Liverpool for the Femme de la Festival, which I feel so privileged. It's a 3-day festival of just female comedians and their shows. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm in Brighton the 9th of June, Birmingham the 12th of June, Cardiff the 27th of June, Manchester date the 12th of October, and I will be finishing the tour, which has been recently confirmed. Tickets aren't on sale yet, but I'm finishing back where it started at the
Soho.
fabulous Soho Theatre, November the 24th.
Amazing. What a
So
nice
I'm chuffed
roundup.
about that. Yeah.
And the show itself, is it just you stand up, or do you use it? Is it multimedia? Do you use any other bits and pieces, or is it
I use a few bits and pieces, but predominantly it's stand up. It's stand up.
cool?
Yeah.
Cool. And so what's next? So obviously this one you must have written it either last year or the year before, and you're sort of been working on it and improving it and touring it. What's next after this year's out?
I will get it recorded as a special. So like that will be like, I suppose, the closure of that. Of course I'm gonna continue with my stand up. I don't know if there's a part 2 to the show, because the show is about supporting him in areas of his pubescent journey. But, now he's 18, and maybe when he goes to college, he might get his first sight of. He's asked, like, when can I have a girlfriend? He's asked things like that. I mean, I don't think he's emotionally ready, but whoever is, like, none of us, do you know what I mean? And I'm dabbling with the thought of also doing shows on things that I've gone through, but I'm only dabbling there. I've got some serious stuff in talks with, also about the time that my son had a meltdown when he was 15, and neighbours called the police, and my son was detained for 18 hours without charge in a police station. And a lot of things happened that shouldn't have happened, in the sense of, like, I didn't have access to him. I wasn't his voice. To this day, I don't know the name of the person who was so-called his voice. Just a lot of things. And so I'm not prepared to make that into comedy, but I've been speaking to someone about doing it as a play, an informative play. So I've got a lot of things that are like going around. And I mean, my ultimate goal is to establish, for everything, if everything happens, is I want to establish a respite facility for families with autistic children, but on a bit more of a bigger scale, where it's like a holiday respite. And you can bring your neurotypical children with you, and you can all do something together in the Highlands or wherever. Or you can go off and do something with your children who you can't spend a lot of time with normally, because the pressures of raising a child with a physical or neurological disability takes you away from your other children.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for coming on today, Josephine. I mean, it's been so. I mean, it's just the honesty and what you've shared. It's an incredible, an awful, frankly, start to a life, and the way you've turned it around is so commendable. And what you've still, with dealing with all of your own stuff, have managed to give back as well. And also, being a super mum to an autistic child, which is no mean feat. And good luck with the rest of your tour for Autism Mama. It's
Thank
already
you.
done incredibly well.
The Guardian, I think, is one of my favourite reviews, but it did also gain 3 5 stars. I think we should just add that.
I'm so sorry, I missed those. So yes, let's big those up. What, 5 stars from where, Josephine?
What's on Stage gave
Amazing.
me a 5 star, and I got 5 stars from Reviewgate and West End's Best Friend.
And there might be an Autism Mama Part 2 coming at some point in the future. There might
There
be.
might be. I think definitely if I go down the book route,
Well, what
we've
about
got to
instead of
try.
a book? What about a comedy series like a dramedy? They're all the rage now, anyway. So
Well, that's also been mentioned. I've been around a table, and really it's about just learning the tools of getting that in a script form. I've done a mini 1 day workshop on that, but with my dyslexia, I would think I'd want to do it again.
honestly,
And
a
also,
true trailblazer and a massive inspiration. And for anyone going through, anyone going through what you've already been through now, I mean, what would you say to them? I mean, you managed to find help and got listened to by the right people, and you trusted, like you said, a lot of people don't trust social workers and the social services, but they really did help you.
like, there is taboos about counselling and, oh, I don't want to talk to a stranger about my problems. Well, when we're at that stage, we get to that stage because we're not even talking to people we know about our problems. And we do that because, oh, we don't want to burden them. You're not burdening a stranger. And they're qualified. So you might think, oh, yeah, but I'm just like a patient. When they're done, they're done. They are. They are. And so they should be, because otherwise they'll need added help. Do you know what I mean? They'll have clinical supervision so they can keep themselves well. But you do need the right counselling. And it is about knowing no one has the right to hurt you in any way. And if you're conditioned to it, it's not your fault. I got so angry going through counselling at one stage when you were like a shift of emotions. And at one point, I just didn't actually know who I was born to be, because I was always told I was like this, you're like your father, or like, there was a time I actually thought I'm only on this planet for other people to hurt.
Oh God.
And that's not true. It's reprogramming your worth. Your brain is like a computer, and it just needs to be pulled out and reset. And it doesn't happen quickly. It doesn't happen quickly. It isn't a quick fix. If you've got years of abuse, that is not going to be fixed in 6 weeks of NHS counselling. It takes a lot more. But if you're strong enough to live through it and have got through it, you are definitely strong enough to heal. And once you start healing, that feels so lovely when you start replacing good memories and good feelings and fill the voids of the darkness. Everyone has light shining upon them, but we walk around with so much murkiness that we don't feel it, we don't see it, it don't touch us, but it don't leave us. It don't go. The universe ain't there to hurt you, but you don't feel it until you shift some of that darkness around you. Then the light starts to hit you and amazing things happen.
Thank you, Jo. I mean, honestly, it's such a powerful message and a powerful story, and so emotional. And thank you for being so vulnerable and so honest and so funny. And I hope to catch your show, even if it's at the end of the year, at the last one at the Soho, because that would be
Yeah.
quite a nice thing to round off the year with and catch up with you then. Thank you again. It's been an absolute joy to speak to you. Thanks for everything that you're doing, and thanks for staying in there and holding out hope and the power of positivity and the fact that, like you just said, no one's here is meant to be hurt. So if you are, try and get the help that you need, and source the people that can support you until you can support yourself.
Yep. And thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure to see that face.
And yours. You look very well, darling. You look very. We've even got similar
I
glasses
know. Do you
on.
know, are yours from the pound shop? Because mine are.
No, but like I do have, because I'm terrible. So I buy a selection and I leave glasses in every room.
So do I.
Because I take these off and put them down, and then I can't find my glasses.
I do
So
that.
I've got glasses in every room, even the bathroom cabinet, because I can't light a candle without my glasses on now either.
I've got them in rooms. I've got them in handbags.
Handbags,
But
drawers.
thank you so much. I hope to see you soon. And what I'll do is I'll put all the links to your shows in the blurb for this episode, and I'll email
Oh,
you all the bits and
thank you.
pieces. And it's been an absolute joy to speak to you this morning. Thank you for being amazing, and carry on being amazing. Good luck to Callum.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Real Folk with me, Jo Burke.